Welcome to Chart of the Week for the week of August 30th. Foreclosures have been on the decline in Colorado in recent months, although it remains to be seen how long this trend will be sustained. As you can see in this graph that shows the total of all foreclosure filings and foreclosure sales at auction up through the second quarter of this year, both filings and sales fell during the second quarter, and filings, the top line, have fallen for 3 quarters in a row. Filings, by the way, are the initial stage of the foreclosure process, and sales at auction are the end of the process when the homeowner is generally evicted. So, the second quarter trend of declining sales and filings seems to have been sustained past the end of the second quarter through July, as you can see here in this graph of foreclosure filings, which includes foreclosure data from the state's large counties up through July. You can see here that the 3-month moving average, the smoother line, has been falling since April, and that filings in July were at a number very near to an 18-month low. In the monthly data for foreclosure sales at auction, the moving average has been going down since March, and the foreclosure sales total is near a 9-month low. So the general trend has been downward, but we have to ask ourselves why the totals would be consistently declining for the last 3 to 4 months. We should first note that while the trend has been downward, the overall totals are still up near the high end of what we've been seeing over the last 2 to 3 years. For example, looking back at this chart, we see that while the trend is downward in filings, it is coming off a very high peak. In fact, the second and third quarters of last year were the largest quarters for foreclosure filings yet recorded. So a drop from those levels only signals a return to more conventional foreclosure totals. And as you can see, the filings total for the second quarter of this year was not much below what we saw during most of 2008. At the same time, although foreclosure sales at auction started to move downward, that drop is only coming at the end of 4 quarters of increases, so the drop only takes us down to levels seen toward the end of 2007. While we can identify some recent trends over the span of 2 to 3 years, foreclosure totals haven't really moved much. Nevertheless, we want to identify the reasons for the recent drops in foreclosure totals if we can. One thing we do know is that foreclosures aren't going away thanks to the job market. If we look at this graph here, we see pretty clearly that foreclosures seem to be slowly dropping off in spite of a stubbornly resilient unemployment rate. You can see that unemployment is staying around 8%, while filings drop off slightly. We can see that both filings and unemployment moved up together during the first half of 2009, which makes sense since all things being equal, unemployment should generally lead to more people missing their monthly payments. However, since the end of 2009, filings seem to be moving down again, although unemployment has stayed high. There are several reasons we could note, and we'll look at 3 here today. The first reason is that foreclosures have inched downward because Colorado has a particularly well-advanced loss mitigation program in the form of the Colorado Foreclosure Hotline. If we take the 4,000 to 5,000 homeowners each year that are able to secure repayment plans, loan mods, and other options through the hotline, that right there is going to put downward pressure on the total number of foreclosure sales at auction. Secondly, short sales are also helping to keep the statistics down. A recent analysis by John Rebchuk at InsideRealEstateNews.com noted that year over year, in the Denver area at least, short sales are up 48% for the period from January to July. If lenders are opting for short sales instead of foreclosures, that will help keep totals down. And we can also point to the fact that lenders are foreclosing slowly. In fact, at the national level, Fannie Mae on September 2nd announced that its servicers have been acting too slowly and that Fannie will now be monitoring its portfolio more closely to ensure that servicers get non-performing loans off the books more quickly. If servicers are dragging their heels on foreclosures, that may be slowly moving down foreclosure counts as well. Preliminary foreclosure information for August suggests that the downward trend may be coming to an end, but we'll have to wait until all the data is in before we can know for sure.